Welcome to Off Court Cuts with myself, Greg Rusedski, and Kevin Palmer from Tennis 365. We've got to talk about it. Carlos Alcaraz going out early to Sepp Korda. Landalucia, the Spanish boy who's on fire. Swiatek again goes out early, gets rid of her coach now, so she's looking for a new coach who's going to replace Wim Fissette. And on top of that, Mukova, she has been on fire, looking great at the moment. One of the people we think gets in the mix. But what happened to Eala? At the end of the day, she's losing matches very one-sided. So she has good runs, but then doesn't push through. So let's figure out what's happening on the tour here in Miami. What are your thoughts, first of all, about the Carlos Alcaraz loss?
We're all so shocked, aren't we, Greg, when one of these two big superstars lose a match these days because they've just been dominating men's tennis for the last 2 years. And I have to say, Carlos looks a little bit distracted at the moment. Even in the win against Fonseca, he was kind of looking around the crowd, waving at people, having, not quite fully focused on the job. I saw Patrick Mouratoglou saying something similar, that he was almost like he kind of is so good that he can get through these matches without having to be at his best. So it's interesting to see where we are. He said after he lost to Medvedev in Indian Wells, he's a bit fed up having the target on his back as the world number one. There's a lot of pressure on these guys, these top two, to win every single week after week. It's not really possible. We got used to it with the big three of Federer, Nadal and Djokovic winning every week, but can these two young guns keep it going? I'm not worried about Carlos at all. I think he'll be rocking and rolling by the time we get to the French Open and the defense of his title, but he does have a lot of ranking points to defend the next few weeks. He's got Monte Carlo 1,000 points. He's got Rome 1,000 points. He got to the final in Barcelona last year. He's got 2,000 points at Roland Garros. There's a lot on the line for him. Greg, what are your thoughts on Carlos? No need to be worried, but he's kind of not entirely focused in these sort of non-Grand Slams potentially.
Well, I think it's a combination of two. Sammy Lopez has done a great job, won the Australian, holds all 4 major titles now, which is incredible. But it looks like he's enjoying his social life a little bit much. You've got to rest, you've got to recover, you got to get 12 hours sleep. I mean, he is that good. He's also a young man, so he wants to live his life as well. But it's getting that balance. And I think that's one of the reasons, probably one, Carlos Ferrero and him parted, because he wanted more discipline, more rest, more recuperation. Those areas we talked about, the money previously. I think he's got to get the balance, maybe play a little bit less, cancel a few of those exhibitions. I mean, you got enough cash, find periods where you can just get away, enjoy yourself, because he's played an awful lot of tennis. And when you play too much tennis, you get bored, you get overload, and it's difficult to sustain this high level. Not worried about him. He'll be back, but maybe he doesn't start up in Monte Carlo. But if I'm Yannick Sinner, I'm thinking, hey, number one in the world, looking good again. I got a shot here, especially if he does the Sunshine Double, which I predicted he was going to do the Sunshine Double. And he's looked pretty good so far, Sinner, just focused, really on it. And there'd been some rumors that in the Australian Open supposedly had a little bit of a virus. That was some of the conversations there. So the men's game, it looks like it's opened up. The other guy, Fils, how well is he playing? I mean, he's playing
Great.
Landalucia, the Spanish boy, all of a sudden is hitting fire, having beaten Hachinov and then beating Korda, who beat Alcaraz. So, a few more players getting in that mix, Kevin.
Yeah, and I think you said a couple of weeks ago you feel like the chasing pack may be getting a little closer, and that certainly has been backed up in these two events. Now, Sinner won Indian Wells pretty convincingly. He's not dropped a set for so long now. 28 as we're recording this. He's won in a row in Masters 1000, which is incredible. A new record going past Djokovic. Incredible run from Sinner. He seems to be kind of invincible in this best of 3 set format on hard courts, but it does feel like the chasing pack are getting closer. Even when he's playing, like, you look at the Mickelson game that he won in the end, Sinner, he was pushed all the way. Mickelson had chances to win the second set. There's definitely openings for the players ranked just outside, maybe not the top 20, but the sort of the guys coming through, the Arthur Fils of this world, you think would fancy his chances of having a go at one of the big two now. He's looked fantastic, Arthur Fils, Greg, hasn't he?
Yeah, he is. I mean, he's talked about changing his diet, getting in better shape, moving. Looks just a better player and a better athlete. He looks serious now. I mean, to beat Tsitsipas 11-1 when Tsitsipas hasn't won back-to-back matches in a while just shows you how good he is. And there's a little bit of an opening at the top for someone to make the finals. Miami always has these strange results. Mensik winning last year against Djokovic. I guess it's conditions, humidity, slowness, playing in the stadium. It doesn't have those consistent results that Indian Wells you always get the big names winning at. But, there's still a long way to go. Still sticking with my pick, Sinner, but I think the chasing pack is starting to get a little bit closer. But we've got to get on to the women's right now. I mean, the big news in the women's game was Swiatek parting company with Wim Fissette. Who's going to be the new coach? of Iga Swiatek is the question, and can she turn it around in time for the French Open?
Doors open, Greg. Are you available? Do you want to put your hand up for Ego? No, you all right, man? Yeah.
Well, she's got to call me. You always
Yeah.
want the player to call you because then you get buy-in. If you're calling them, you don't always get the right buy-in. And I know Wim Fissette very well. Great coach. Worked with Joe Conta. Worked with Naomi Osaka. So he knows what he's doing out there, and he's had some great runs with the players. But obviously, since winning Wimbledon, they haven't had the results they would like. I'm sure Wim will be back on tour soon because he's one of the best in the business, but it's also getting the mentality. Sometimes Swiatek looks a little bit too intense. She's got to learn how to go off court and relax and then bring the intensity on court. I'm sure she'll get the balance right, but this clay court season coming up is huge because she was supposed to be the new Rafa in the women's game, just dominating clay every year, winning Roland Garros, but it hasn't happened. So interesting to see where that goes. On top of that, there's been rumors about Naomi Osaka possibly hanging up her rackets. Have you heard that one, Kevin, as well?
So, well, she said it in her press conference that she's kind of saying she's a mother now. Does she want to spend all this time away from her kid if she's not going to be challenging for titles? And, she got to the final in Canada last year in a W1000, which was good progress just so shortly after she split with Patrick Mouratoglou, actually. So that felt like she was getting back. She was closing in on the top 20, hopefully looking at the top 10 this year. Just hasn't quite happened for her. And you just wonder how long someone who's got all that money in the bank, 4 Grand Slams in the bank, how much does she need it? And if she isn't going to get anywhere near winning again, we've said it about Novak. Why is Novak continuing? But Novak is getting very close to winning. If he was going out in the second and third rounds, I'm pretty sure Novak would have hoisted the white flag a long time ago. But not Naomi Osaka. Unfortunately, she's not getting at the back end of tournaments. She needs to see progress, I think, Greg, really realistically to continue. And that's obviously where she's getting to now. She's thinking, why am I bothering if I'm only getting out second, third round?
Well, and the other thing I want to talk about is the player that's impressed me this season so far, which we haven't been talking about, is Mukova. She's been to a French Open final. She's a complete player. She can come forward. She can stay back. She can do it all. It looks like she's got her game, and she destroyed Eala in the previous round and was just brilliant. So, what's your thoughts on Mukova, and what's your thoughts on the Philippine superstar who is getting into the later stages of tournaments, but once she gets there, she's getting beaten pretty one-sidedly?
That's an issue I think Eala's got. We'll talk about Mukova just quickly. I mean, she's looking so impressive, an all-court game. You think she's going to do well on any surface, a possible threat at Wimbledon even this summer. I don't know whether grass is her favourite or not, but she got that game, and Wimbledon's been so unpredictable in the women's draw for the last couple of years that anyone can come through and win. Mukova, a player to watch there. With Eala, look, I think Eala's an absolute godsend for the WTA Tour. She's been brilliant for the publicity, for the profile, the interest she's creating. When we put stories on her on Tennis 365, she just absolutely explodes. She's a major superstar. The problem she's got, I think, is she can get a bit, possibly like Emma Raducanu. We could say that she gets to a certain point in a draw, and then suddenly she comes up against a player who's physically bigger and stronger, hits the ball that little bit bigger, and she's just not quite being able to do that. I mean, it is possible to overcome that. We've seen players like Ash Barty, who is not the biggest in the world, reach number one and win Grand Slams. What do you think Eala can kind of bridge that physical gap? I think she's a great player, fantastic for our sport. But what are your thoughts? And maybe can she go beyond the top 10 and beyond?
Well, I think she needs to improve the serve. The serve, gets you on the front foot from the start, and she's going to get physically stronger. She's got to get more time in the gym, build up the muscles, get a little bit quicker. She'll start hitting the ball harder. So she's still young. Let's not forget that she's still very young and many more years to develop. And I think she's too good a player not to make it into the top 10. And the good thing is she has a good attitude. She's working hard, but you don't want to create this scar tissue when you're playing the top girls and you're losing so easily at times. And I think she will get over that hump. She's too good and she's putting in the effort, and she is great for the WTA. But right now it's kind of like the likes of Mukova and Boko. Those are the players you're looking to break through, because right now it's been the dominance of Sabalenka and Raducanu who've been the best two players on the WTA Tour, and they're the ones who are sharing all the big prizes at the moment. And I think that trend's most likely going to continue. But there's somebody on the bottom half of the draw who can possibly get through. Will it be Coco Gauff with her serving yips, I would describe it as, or not as good as you'd like? It's just not working. But she's still finding a way to win, which is so impressive. And if she can find that serve, then all of a sudden she joins the party to win the biggest events. Will this be the week she gets to a final and gets a shot at the Sabalenkas or Rabakinas?
I just think Coco, amazing performances. I mean, we can all see she's got a problem with her serve. And when that double fault comes in, you hear the gasp around the stadium. Everyone's almost waiting for it. And some of the second serves are virtually bouncing before they hit the net. She had one the other day that hit the top of her frame and nearly landed in the crowd. So there's massive problems with the serve. I'm not sure whether it's the throw up, there's elements to it. She's got Gavin McMillan there working on it. We've got Pat Cash on our show on Monday going to be talking about Gavin McMillan. He worked with him in the past. And also, whether he thinks sort of professional ex-players like yourself and Pat himself might be in a better position to maybe offer players advice on serve. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Greg. We have these sort of experts that have come in, but you guys have been there and done it. Is that experience you've got has to be invaluable to a player?
Well, you have to know the psychology, but also you have to know the technique and the biomechanics. So it's a combination of a few things. And the player has to be clear what they're doing and they have to buy in. When the player comes to you, that's always when it works out the best. So we hope she can get that serve cleaned up. We hope she can get to a final in Miami. But what an opportunity for that bottom section. And I'm kind of looking at Mukova is the one who might squeak through that section. This event in Miami has been great for the second Masters Series of the year. We've loved it. But I'm still sticking with my two picks there, Rybakina and Sinner. Yours is gone with Alcaraz, so you're probably going to jump on Sinner. And I think you went for Sabalenka in the women. So keep watching, keep subscribing, send in your questions, and thank you for joining us on Off Court Cuts.